There's a lot of attention on an Orlando neighborhood right now, sending much love to the people of the city of Orlando up and down Colonial, from OBT and John Young to Hiawassee, and the residents of Pine Hills. If you know anything about this area, you know that Pine Hills, known as Crime Hills, for over the last 3 decades, are not new to the sheriff helicopters and searchlights every week. It's normal for a place that was once a nice middle-class neighborhood with a country club. That was a very, very long time ago, and even now in certain spots you can still find decent properties and get a glimpse of why a lot of people settled there in the 70s and the 80s. But I would be living in La La Land if we didn't address the crime problem that's there, that's overshadowed all the previous history there and basically took over the whole neighborhood. The latest situation surrounding this nuisance here, that's 19-year-old Keith Melvin Moses. Reporters caught a glimpse of him with a smirk while he was being hauled off to jail on Wednesday after a series of events that claimed the lives of a 9-year-old girl, a 38-year-old woman, a news reporter, and then you have 2 other victims still fighting for their lives, the mother of the 9-year-old girl and a news photographer. We're going to get into it, but first, take a second to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and click the notification bell for all updates. If you're watching from Orlando, let me know below in the comments.
All right, that scene we just showed you from Chopper 2 is near the site of a deadly shooting earlier today. A woman was found dead, and detectives are looking for clues in Orlando's Pine Hills neighborhood. Her body was found on Hialeah Street this morning. At this point, we do not know if these incidents are related.
Neighbors told West 2 Sinaika Brigadigas they are shocked because they say they didn't see or hear anything.
It was a quiet Wednesday morning until law enforcement swarmed the neighborhood.
With so many coming by at one time, I got up and walked up here and followed them.
Neighbors watched as Orange County Sheriff deputies taped off Hialeah Street and Harrington Drive around 11:15 a.m. Detectives say they found a woman shot to death.
We hear gunshots around here all the time. And I've been sitting out here about 2-3 hours, and we heard nothing at all.
And it was a whole bunch of cars. I see fire trucks and stuff. So it's like, I didn't hear any gunshots.
A white car with the passenger door open was in the middle of the crime scene. Detectives spent hours in the neighborhood speaking with people to piece together clues.
How would you feel if your family member out here laying, somebody somewhere looking for her? We are human beings and we don't have that right to take nobody's life.
It's enough to make me want to sit here and weep. It just won't stop. It needs to stop. People don't value life.
Sinaika Brigadigas, West 2 News.
It all started on the morning of February 22nd, 2023, when a woman lost her life as a passenger of a car riding in the Pine Hills neighborhood. Initially, she was described as a 20-year-old female acquaintance of the suspect. Some folks tried to say this was a DV situation and they were romantically involved. Now we're finding out that's not true at all. The woman was not 20 years old. She's now been identified as 38-year-old Natasha Augustine. According to the witness, he did not know Keith Melvin Moses, and he believed that Natasha didn't know him either. According to the witness, he said that he and Natasha, they were riding around, smoking cannabis when they saw Keith Melvin Moses. He was looking sad and told them that he needed a ride. So they let him in the car, and moments later he heard a bang. That's when Keith got out of the car and he noticed a wound in Natasha's face. Unfortunately, just moments later, right before 11:30 a.m., Natasha was DOA. The authorities who responded to the scene conducted their investigation and cleaned up the scene. At this time, it's still unclear what his motive was. Then 5 hours later, around 4 p.m., you had several news crews on the scene reporting on the crime from earlier that day that claimed the life of Natasha. One crew had a strange gut feeling, so they left the scene, but at least 2 other crews remained on site. Next thing you know, a reporter at WFTV allegedly saw Keith Melvin Moses. Keith walked by his crew that was working in their car. They all ducked inside of the car, and then the news crew parked in the same exact location where the first incident took place that morning, instantly became his next target. By that time, the car that Natasha was in was impounded and taken in for evidence. So there in its place, you had an unmarked car with a news crew in it. Keith walked up to the car of the News 13 reporters and opened fire. 2 men identified as reporter Dylan Lyons and photojournalist Jesse Walden were hit. One of the members from the other news crew called 911 and followed instructions from dispatch, who told them to apply pressure. At that time, you had people wondering what was going on and offered blankets and whatever the reporter said they needed to help them. Meanwhile, Keith Melvin Moses decided to run into a nearby house about a block away from the scene. That's where he opened fire on a mother and her 9-year-old daughter, identified as Tiana Major. As of now, we don't know why he went into that house because according to the information revealed by the Orange County Sheriff, it doesn't seem like Keith knew that woman either. So from my understanding, all of the victims here are random. Keith did not know any of them. At the time of the break-in, Brandy's husband was not at home, but when he found out about his daughter and his wife, he rushed to the hospital to see about them. Tiana's mother, 41-year-old Brandy Major, woke up to the horrible news in the hospital that her 9-year-old daughter had passed away. Tiana's father said that she was a light to everyone that knew her. He said, quote, "She was everything to us. Tiana was at the top of her 3rd grade class, reading at a 5th grade level. She was an outgoing kid who participated in gymnastics. Her teachers called her the next Gabby Douglas." And then you had the 2 journalists at the hospital. Unfortunately, one of them did not survive. That was a 24-year-old Dylan Lyons. Dylan was born and raised in Philadelphia, but made Central Florida his home when he enrolled at the University of Central Florida, where he studied communications. And when he graduated, got a job doing what he loved to do, reporting the news. His colleagues and friends said that he loved what he did and took his job very seriously. In a tribute by his employer, they noted that he loved his mother and often thanked her as well as his girlfriend. His sister Rachel, she went to GoFundMe. She says she's his big sister trying to raise money for her little brother's funeral. She said that her brother Dylan was an acting father to his niece and nephew, who he loved so much. He loved his fiance and was a devoted son to his mother and father. Dylan would have been 25 years old in March. Within 10 hours, they had already raised enough money to pay for Dylan's funeral. So maybe all the extra money will go to his sister and her kids. As for the photojournalist, he is still fighting for his life in the hospital in critical condition. According to the Orange County Sheriff, they are unclear if these reporters were targeted or not, but their car was unmarked. So maybe Keith knew that that was the media, or maybe he thought it was the police. Whatever the case, he saw them in the same space where he took Natasha's life earlier.
I apologize. This is really difficult to cover. It is very emotional here at ORMC. I'm not even going to turn the camera because there are people here who knew that reporter who his fiance and I were just embracing. But I will say this. It is nice to see all the media. We come together in solidarity in this moment. This is every reporter's absolutely worst nightmare. We go home at night afraid that something like this will occur. And that is what happened here. So again, we are at Orlando Regional Medical Center, where we have learned that one of our own, a fellow reporter, has died while out covering a shooting. There are members of his family here, along with his fiancée, who are just incredibly distraught tonight. There are other media people who are kind of corralled together and standing in solidarity tonight as one of our own has just passed. So I'm going to send it back to you guys so I can collect myself and get it together. Thank you.
This news really shocked the media. Of course, they report bad news every day. They are the ones who tell us about what happened to the 1-year-old here or the 70-year-old there. But this report was different for them because it really came close to home. They cover all different types of crimes every day, and a lot of people may say that some of them are desensitized. So after you see something like this, you have a lot of the traditional folks in broadcast media, especially the ones out there in the field. They are still in complete shock over what happened to Dylan and Jesse. No doubt about it. There's still not much coverage on Natasha, who was very popular in Orlando. At one time, she was a female rapper. This guy was obviously a bastard. He wasn't raised to bring any value to society. The only thing he's learned how to do was be a nuisance and destroy anybody in contact with them. This guy is not the result of the same type of family that raised Tiana Major. And you can say, oh my God, you're judging. Okay, whatever. When are we going to address that we have a segment of the population being raised by really nobody, maybe one parent? These kids grow up, they're giving the teachers problems at school, they turn 18, 19, and then they're running through the community giving us a problem. The problem is the people that's continuing to make this problem, they don't want to talk about it, they want us to leave them alone, but the monsters that they're producing, they're the ones creeping in and bringing problems to the lives of others. Keith Moses caused all this pain in the lives of Brandy Major's family, Tiana Major, Natasha's family, Dylan and Jesse's family. So many people impacted by him. Only 19 years old and already had a crazy criminal record, which went back to his juvenile years. Honestly, this guy should never be let out. I'm not sure if they're still taking him out by electric, but if so, Keith definitely earned it. Sending condolences to the families of all of the victims here. Special thank you to Paul. I appreciate you, Paul, for all of your support, as well as our sister Juliet, Dark Power, Joseph M, Larry, and Cedric. Thank you all for your support. Don't forget that you can support this channel as well. Links to Cash App and PayPal are below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel and don't forget to like and share.